All right, so here I'm going to go through a few different ways to chunk this text just to show you, to give you another example of someone going about chunking the text and how you can chunk the text with the intent to find meaning. That should always be kind of the intention when you're doing something like this. You're not just doing it because you have to. There's really no other reason to engage in this kind of annotation unless you're trying to pull meaning out of the text. So this is a very popular, very famous poem by Robert Frost, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. You should maybe pause this and read it over before you watch me chunk it to get a sense of why I'm chunking it the way that I am. But one of the things that I always try to do when I'm chunking a text is I want to start simple. So this is a 16-line poem. It's broken down into 4 stanzas. So maybe there's 4 different ideas here, 4 different chunks of text, because that's how the author kind of created it, in 4 different chunks of text. But something that I want to consider at least is the possibility that maybe it's more simple than that. Maybe there's just 1 or 2 ideas being presented here. So the first thing that I see is that I'm going to start by chunking this just into 2 parts. Chunk number 1, chunk number 2. So chunk number 1, it's just about this guy stopping by the woods on a snowy evening. There's the stop portion of the text. And then in the end, there's the go part. So there's stopping and there's going. Now, once I understand that, which is sort of the most basic, simple way of looking at this poem, now I can start to go deeper beyond that very kind of surface level analysis. So I can start asking questions too to help me. So like, why does he stop? Why does he go? And maybe those questions will lead me toward more understanding. So some things that I see when I start analyzing the poem a little more deeply. This first stanza, this is a man who is alone, maybe not emotionally, but he's physically alone. I mean, he's the only person there, and we see that. He's kind of in this desolate, quiet place. Here we see that he's being kind of called back to his world by the sound of the bells, are kind of like shaking him back into like the reality of what he has to do. And then here is that realization. So it's not just stopping and going. I'm seeing that it's actually more of like a stopping, reflecting in a specific place for a specific reason, and he's sort of being drawn back into his world for certain reasons. This is not just a random thing that he's doing. So also along the way, while I'm chunking, I'm also going to kind of annotate things that stand out to me. So the horse thinks it's strange that he's there. So it gives me kind of this impression that like he is alone, and like no one kind of really understands why he's alone. He's there for a reason, but the reason is his. And the language that's used to describe this place, this easy wind, the downy flakes, the woods are lovely. Those words give me the impression that this is a place that he wants to be. But is always a good turning point word to indicate that there's, a shift, a change in feeling and emotion. So he wants to be in this place here, but he knows he kind of has to be in this place here because he has promises to keep. All right. So I'm starting to see this kind of the separation between like where he wants to be and where he has to be. Kind of this pull toward sort of sleep and rest and leisure that's opposed to this realization that he has responsibilities and he has places to be and things to do, and that's just kind of where he has to go. Those are the miles he has to travel before he can sleep and rest. So, I can start to kind of like break it down in different ways from this point. So I see that, again, there's these two parts here, and maybe these two parts are about different things. It could be about rest versus work. It could be about this desire to be in one place versus this responsibility to be in another. So there's this pull, there's this opposition between the things that we want to do and the things that we have to do. And also what comes with that is sometimes that comes with sort of it's a lonely place, where the desire to kind of be alone in peace, those woods, those dark, deep woods that he wants to be in versus what it seems like the kind of the hustle and bustle of daily life that he's traveling back to, and maybe not necessarily wanting to be there, at least not yet. He wants to take some time and appreciate the quiet before he has to go back to reality. So if chunking is supposed to lead me toward meaning, then what I see here is a poem that probably means, or that is about that pull. I could make a case based on my chunking and the elements that I've identified throughout this poem and pointing to specific examples along the way, that Frost is trying to say that we're often torn between our personal desires and our solitary wants and the more commitment-based or responsibility-based parts of life that we have to do in order to make those moments of rest and reflection worth it. So if I was going to write a theme, it'd probably be a little bit more eloquent than that, but the chunking led me to understand those things about the poem.